Good morning. Welcome to United Unitarian Universalist Congregation on this beautiful May day. It's really nice that May has finally arrived. Yay. My name is Reverend David Kraemer, minister at this church. Helping with today's service are Meg Whaley and Alex Chilsen and Aaron Hurwitz. This service is live and live streamed. A couple of things to lift up. Our board meets on Tuesday. We on Friday sent out stewardship letters. May is our stewardship drive, and so if you have pledged in the past year, you should be receiving a letter if you have not received it yet shortly, with instructions on how to pledge again. And if you have not pledged yet, there are new pledger letters that are now out on the table in the foyer. And so you might want to think about picking that up. You do not need to be a member in order to pledge. Pledging helps us budget and helps us plan. So we appreciate your support. Next week, we're going to give outside coffee hour a try. Paul Bergman and Patty Keys have graciously offered to host for us. So pending weather, we're going to be outside following the service for a coffee hour. Also, our auction is coming up on June 12th. Is that right? And today is the last day for donations. There is still a donation form out on the table as well, and you can click on the link, but today is the last day to receive donations. And Meg Whaley has a little bit of a promo on what we might be expecting on the 12th.
So on the 12th, yes, we, Emma, Ken McKeppel and I are going to be offering a nature journaling session. So it'll be about 4 hours long. We're going to go someplace out in nature, we haven't decided where yet, and talk about and give you experiential kinds of things on nature journaling, which she has interested and have done some stuff by myself. I think it's going to be really fun. So we'll nature journal and snacks will be provided as well.
Cool. Thank you. Mm-hmm. So today is Mother's Day, a day for honoring our mothers and also motherhood. If you are fortunate to have mothers who care for you and who you care for, tell them you love them today. Do the flowers, take them to lunch, buy them candy, whatever it is. Tell them how grateful you are. And also today, know that not everyone who has nurtured us is our birth mother, nor have all who nurture given birth. Not everyone who is capable of becoming a mother wishes that for themselves, and some who have become mothers never hoped for it. Motherhood is worthy of our respect. So is the decision to become a mother or not. As our Supreme Court seems about to change how people can make decisions about their own lives, this day is particularly poignant. In email and on our website are links to Planned Parenthood Advocates of Wisconsin, the advocacy arm of Planned Parenthood, with updates on how you can add your voice to those speaking out. One way is to join with Planned Parenthood of Wisconsin in supporting patients and talking about what to expect in the next month or two. This week there is an effort to prepare Make a Plan kits with condoms and pregnancy tests and flyers and emergency contraception. All of this goes into boxes for each health center to begin distributing to patients as a way to build awareness. If you are able and interested in joining in this week, please stay tuned for announcements. Packing will be at the Planned Parenthood admin office on Jackson Street in Milwaukee.
No hiding, no exerting yourself, no trying to do more or be more. You have inherent worth and dignity. Nothing to prove here, nothing to prove to me or the person sitting next to you or to the children or to anyone. You don't have to try to be witty or more quiet or more outgoing. You are beautiful. Every part of you beautiful, just the way you are. You do not need to change anything about yourself to be welcome here. Your skin, your hair, your belly, your limbs, your face, all beautiful, just the way they are. You are extraordinary, each and every one of you, different from each and beautiful in your own beautiful way. Breathtaking. Let us worship together.
Now please join in words to our chalice lighting. May this flame kindle within us the warmth of compassion, the glow of love, the fire of commitment, and the light of truth. Here together we scatter and nurture seeds of spirit, service, and community. Our first hymn is number 1053 in the Teal hymnal, How Could Anyone? I think we sang this maybe a couple of weeks ago, but it's a good one for today. Alex?
How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul.
So our story today is a new one. It's called Say Something. The world needs your voice. Mine? Yes, yours. Go ahead. It doesn't need to be perfect as long as it's from your heart. You don't have to be loud. Powerful words can be a whisper. You can say something in so many ways, with words, with action, with creativity. If you see someone lonely, say something by just being there for them. If you see an empty canvas, say something with your brush. If you see an empty lot, say something by planting a seed and watching it bloom. If you see someone being hurt, say something by being brave. If you see something beautiful, say something with a poem. If you have a brilliant idea, say something with confidence. If you want to show the world who you are, say something with style. If you are angry, say something to help people understand. You made me feel invisible. That really hurt. I'm really sorry. If you see an injustice, say something peacefully. Inspire others to do the same. Sometimes you'll say something and no one will be listening, but keep saying what is in your heart, and you will find someone who listens. Keep saying it, and you may be surprised. Listening. If you are grateful for being alive, quietly say something to the universe. Some people find it easier to say something than others, but everyone has something to say. So when you're ready, say something. We're grateful today for this warm weather, sunshine, flowers blooming, water rippling. Grateful for the faces here before us today, for all of our mothers and our relationships, all of those things that have nurtured us throughout all our lives. Be mindful of those who are not among us, those with whom trouble exists. Let's reach out and care for them as we can. Let us also be mindful of the changes in our society and our world. May we say something. This good earth, the gift of human community. May we learn to live in peace. Blessed be. Now let's take a few minutes to exercise some generosity. Paul, would you please, we're drafting you into service, I think, but if you would please pass some plates. Let's take up our offering. Grateful for your generosity. Alex. And of course, we share more than our resources. We share our lives here, milestones, our joys and sorrows. At this time, if you have a joy or a sorrow or something to share with us, I'd invite you to come up, speak into the microphone, take a stone from the bowl, and when you are finished, place your stone in the bowl with the water, and let the ripples carry your concerns out to the wider congregation.
I'm Donna Lundeen, and I'm to mention that Jennifer Byringer had a birthday yesterday. She turned 70, so we welcome her to a new decade. She's had a wonderful week. She had a birthday party. She had a cake, double chocolate with chocolate frosting, and chocolate flowers, and chocolate candy. Anyway, we wish her a good decade, and many more.
Hi, I'm Kay Wickenberg. Good news, bad news. The bad news is John hit it. Well, he's fine. And he was just like a half a mile from home. Came over a hill, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it just went right in front of him. So the deer goes. So anyway, the car is kind of like not too bad, but it needs fixing, of course. So called the sheriff. Got the tag. And the neighbor. Good news is it was actually in front of a neighbor's house. And the neighbor who knew who we were, and he said, well, I'm just going to take the deer and turn it into sausage. So I said, take it. But I did feel that he felt bad. So anyway, the car isn't too bad. John's fine, but, bad news. You got to dink around with insurance and all that. So, yeah. The good news is, that's the bad. Okay. The good news is yesterday was a perfect bike riding day. And we were out for several hours and enjoyed the day. So, spring.
I'll place one last stone for all those joys and sorrows that remain unspoken, but on our hearts and minds. Let's sing together, Walking with You.
Walking with you, walking with you is our prayer.
We have a reading this morning. It's a litany of restoration from our hymnal. If recognizing the independence of all life, we strive to build community, the strength we gather will be our salvation. If you are black and I am white,
it will not matter. If you are female and I am male,
it will not matter. If you are older and I am younger,
it will not matter. If you are progressive and I am conservative,
it will not matter. If you are straight and I am gay,
it will not matter. If you are Christian and I am Jewish,
it will not matter. If we join spirits as brothers and sisters, the pain of our aloneness will be lessened, and that does matter.
In this spirit, we build community and move toward restoration. So, Chilsen, I've been leaning on him a lot lately, if you're watching. Chilsen likes to tell this joke. There's 2 kinds of people in the world, and you're one of them. The beauty of the joke is that there really are not just 2 kinds of people in the world. We know this. But no matter how many kinds of people there are in the world, you're one of them. Our theme this month is nurturing beauty. Today I want to talk about nurturing the beauty of everyone by truly seeing, honoring who each of us really is. I want to do what is sometimes called preaching against the text. I offer it as an example of how my own thinking has changed over time, how I've gotten smarter. Preaching against the text arises in the Christian church, where much, if not all, preaching is based on the text, by which they mean the Bible. Sometimes nearly all preachers realize the text doesn't say what it is that you want it to say. A classic example is Psalm 137, which calls The Babylonians, happy shall be they who take your little ones and dash them against the rock. Yes, the Bible actually says this. So at some point, if you're going to claim that the Bible is your canon, you're going to have to find some way of dealing with that passage, and it might be that you simply reject it. For us, because we don't have a text in this sense, we still often use textual material to spark our thoughts or to cause us to dig deeper. We say that we have an open canon, meaning that truth may be revealed in any number of texts or no texts at all. The readings in the back of the hymnal often serve as our text, just like today. The piece that we just read, the Litany of Restoration, has been used countless times to call us into right relationship, to build beloved community. It was written by Marjorie Bowens Weekly, who served Community Church in New York, was a prominent anti-racist writer, founding member of the African American Unitarian Universalist Ministry, nominated for an Emmy for a program produced with Maya Angelou. Bowens Wheatley is authoritative on this subject, certainly more than me, who by many measures ought to simply sit down and shut up. And this reading is right here in the hymnal, for crying out loud, which is darn near the Bible for us, right? But even so, I want to preach against this text, because just as with the Bible, I revere what has been said, but I also recognize there may be problems with it, or interpretations or circumstances of time and place that caused someone to say something in a way that is no longer understood the same. With a deep bow to Marjorie, did you notice how this litany is built entirely on a binary? If you are black and I am white, if you are female and I am male, if you are older, if I am younger, as if there are only two choices. There is no real binary, not with regard to race, not with regard to gender, not with regard to anything. Lots of people are variously comfortable or uncomfortable with the many gender roles in our society that society arbitrarily dictates. At one time in history, women who wore pants were considered perverse. The socialized norm of a binary which permeates our culture only serves to dehumanize anyone who does not fit. One way that I have talked about breaking down the binary is to think in terms of a continuum, but I'm revising that idea too. Even the idea of a continuum implies a kind of a binary structure. Better is to think in multiple possibilities, not on a line, but maybe in a field. Writer Blair Imani, who wrote this book, Read This to Get Smarter, suggests the term kaleidoscope instead of continuum. I like that. I think I might try to build that into my speech. The idea for this service came from a care team meeting just recently in which we talked about the work of relearning pronouns when interacting with people who are transgender. All of us in that group either knows or in several cases is related to someone whose identity does not match the sex they were assigned at birth. Everyone in the group, I think I can say, recognized the need to honor every person's inherent worth and dignity, the right to decide for themselves who they are. We also were very aware of our political climate right now, of don't say gay laws in Florida, and how sometimes fair-minded people who are trying to incorporate more inclusive language into their daily conversation are under attack. The growing practice of spelling out your personal pronouns itself is an example. Yet, as grandparents or aunts or uncles, we recognize that it also does take no small amount of effort to change how you think of your loved one when in some way they identify differently than we have assumed them to be. And as basic English speakers, it can feel strange at first to use they, them, if you were taught to think of these terms as plural. We have a cultural bias here. So it's work, it's good work, worthy work. And if you think about it, talk about it, practice it, maybe it will become more natural. One thing is to try to build they, them into your speech, especially when there's no particular message you are trying to send or other compelling reason to use more binary pronouns. In some ways, we already do this. Consider what you would say if you were to see a jacket hanging over a chair. Oh, someone left their jacket. That's easy, right? Their jacket. Now begin extending that into your conversation. If someone wants to donate to the auction, for example, they can find the link on the website. That's not hard. I have begun trying to do this more and more in cases where a particular gender identity is where it just doesn't matter. But of course, they, them is not an automatic default. It is also not okay to use they, them exclusively as a kind of a blanket rule. There are any number of combinations of pronouns that people might choose to use, or new forms, neo-pronouns, which might include sie or zir, em or thon. These too might sound strange, but just as important as it is it is just as important to recognize how language continually evolves. Think of how the term white supremacist culture has changed even in the last couple of years in common conversation. No longer does it describe a certain racialized nationalism and people out on the fringe. Now it's a description of the social milieu affecting everyone, the water we swim in. And just because someone uses binary pronouns does not mean they identify as either a man or a woman. For many people, pronouns and gender are connected, but that's not the case for everyone, writes Imani. Sex and gender orientation, all parts of identity, are nevertheless independent of each other. Honoring and using a person's correct pronouns demonstrates respect and acknowledgement of the person's identity and their personhood, Imani writes. When we refer to others, we should do so on their terms, not ours. Always, if you are unsure of how to address someone, find a way to ask. And the practice of identifying your own pronouns as you introduce yourself, or as I do in my email address, just helps normalize it so it does not feel so odd. This book, Read This to Get Smarter, is about class and gender and disability and more. It's relatively short, a pretty fast read, and it covers a lot of ground. It's kind of a primer for liberal folks. If you feel like you are sometimes on the edge of the conversation or not quite up to speed on the current terminology, this might help. There are some other things in here that I learned. One is a term, misogynoir, a combination of the words misogyny, hatred of women, and noir, black in French, used to describe stereotypes of black women who are viewed as inherently masculine, aggressive, or less desirable than other racialized women and white women. I also found a little irony. The European rulers responsible for plaguing the world with these definitions of masculinity regularly dressed in what Imani would consider full drag, with elaborate makeup, powdered and perfumed wigs, and decorative clothing with no utility other than looking fancy. And a little detail. There's a good explanation of the term LGBTQIA+ in this book, which specifically includes intersex and asexual, or ACE, communities. Imani notes that the A in the acronym is not there to mean allies, because people who support a community but are not a part of it should not be centered in the community they are not a part of. All this terminology and changing language is a lot to keep up with. This book might help, but still you're not going to get it right all the time. I don't. I think what is most important is to constantly beware of the inherent worth and dignity of every person, to truly see them. Then what you do is work toward honoring that. Being seen is necessary for each of us, especially for those whose identities are threatened. The other part of the litany that jumps out is the repeated phrase, "It will not matter." Kind of makes me think of the MLK quote that sometimes people use to claim they don't see color, right? But of course, it does matter. It does matter if you are Black, Indigenous, or a person of color. It does matter if society identifies you as a woman or as a man. It does matter that age and ability and sexual orientation and religious tradition all have been and are continually used to discriminate and oppress. Author Brené Brown writes of this in terms of belonging, a critical component of diversity, equity, and inclusion. We have to belong to ourselves as much as we need to belong to others, Brown writes. Any belonging that asks us to betray ourselves is not true belonging. True belonging is the spiritual practice of believing in and belonging to yourself so deeply that you can share your most authentic self with the world and find sacredness in both being a part of something and standing alone in the wilderness. True belonging doesn't require you to change who you are. It requires you to be who you are. In the absence of love and belonging, there is always suffering. Connection to a larger humanity gives people more freedom to express their individuality without fear of jeopardizing belonging. And here's where paying attention to pronouns is particularly important. I can be myself, Brown writes, when I know that I am with people who recognize the inextricable, unnameable spiritual connection that is shared humanity, because belonging is not in jeopardy. Be here, be you, belong. So again, with a deep bow to Marjorie Bowens Wheatley, Meg and I have a new version of the Litany of Atonement. It still isn't perfect, but I hope may be better. Meg?
If recognizing the interdependence of all life, we strive to create community, its beauty will be our salvation.
If you wear green and I wear blue,
And they wear orange, purple, and brown,
it will matter. If you sing alto and I play the drum,
and Alex plays the piano, it will matter.
if you are ready for adventure and I am ready for a nap, it will matter.
If I bring my hunger and you bring pie, it will matter.
If you choose Z and I choose thee, it will matter.
If I need to be seen and you see me, it will matter.
In this spirit, we co-create community and move toward wholeness. Let's sing again. Hymn number 131, Love Will Guide Us.
Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us. Peace has tried us. Hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night.
So here's a little fact. There were 2,815 words in this service, more or less, not counting my ad libs or the joys and sorrows or the story or the prayer. And not once until now have I used the words he or she. So you can do it. I will leave a copy of How to Get Smarter in our library, which if you have not seen it yet, is looking mighty cozy and not to mention, I think, increasingly well-stocked and relevant, if I say so myself. There's a growing section of anti-racism and justice literature, a good section of Unitarian Universalist theology and history, and biographies and more history, and a good selection of novels and poetry and prose. Check it out. I also have a few more books that I have and using, though you may not have noticed this. One is The Myth of Closure, which talks about loss in time of pandemic. The Dawn of Everything, which I've referenced a few times, and it'll be back there. This is the UUA Common Read this year. It is Defund Fear. It is about policing and law enforcement and our justice system, how we might go about doing this in different ways. This might also be a good book read if others were interested in pulling together a group. So I'll put all this back in our library. Meg also suggests, because we have a little extra time today, following Alex's postlude, perhaps this would be a good day for some conversation after the service. We have talked about that in recent weeks, about how we might just open up a little discussion. It's a good one for us today? Some nodding heads? Good, good. All right. So then, wherever you go today, enjoy this beautiful day. Know that you are loved. Seek justice. Find peace.
If you wake up and you don't want to smile, if it takes just a little while, open your eyes and look at the day. You'll see things in a different way. And don't stop thinking about tomorrow. Don't stop, it'll soon be here. And it's gonna be better than before. Yesterday's gone, yesterday's gone. Oh, if your life was bad to you, just think what tomorrow may do, and don't stop thinking about tomorrow. Don't stop, it'll soon be here, and it's gonna be better than before. Yesterday's gone, yesterday's gone. Oh, all I want is to see you smile, if it takes just a little while.